Hello, hello. I think we're live.
Hello.
There we go. That's better. Scott, you're muted.
I'm not.
the phrase of the year, right? You are muted. Hey everyone, welcome.
Yes.
Right after there's a widget for that.
Right. So we're gonna be introducing a few people, but first we have some guidelines to go through and some points, and then we'll introduce ourselves. So let's get started. So my name is Simon Lightfoot. I'm a community leader and also CTO at Dev Angels in London. We're a small developer agency. Scott?
I am Scott Stahl. I am also a community leader and organizer of GDG Cleveland, which is a Google developer group. Yeah, it's kind of like a meetup group, but better because we get pizza from Google. Majid?
And hello from my side. My name is Majid Hajian, a community leader and a Google developer expert for Flutter. And I'd like to actually welcome everyone, my new friend, old friend, current friend, everyone now in the stream and to this live stream. Before we start, Simon, let me mention our code of conduct first. So this is our tradition. Before starting any event, we mention a few points, which is basically saying be nice to each other, and that's it. And I know that all of you are. We just try to mention it once more. And with that said, so we'd like to tell you what do we have for you today, right, Simon and Scott?
Most definitely. So let's bring us back on the screen here. So we've kind of been working on a schedule, which if I find it, that'd be great. So first of all, we would like we'll be introducing some members of the Flutter team, and they can introduce you about the event as a whole. And then we'll be speaking to Kate Lovett about what is Flutter and a bit more. We'll go for a bit more detail then. Scott, what do we have after that?
Well, let's see here. After Kate, we also have an introduction to community resources, what the Flutter community can do for you. And then we also have the Flutteristas as our special guests.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're having coffee with the Flutteristas. Then we're going to have a little bit of a break, and then Tomek and Nash are going to walk people through a number of resources that we have for this. And last but not least, Simon is going to do the obligatory live coding disaster.
Yeah, we're going to attempt
something. While he shows you how to install Flutter.
Whoa.
So
I think we forgot one thing, Simon, though, and Scott. We have two amazing people from Google, Nilay and Nikita on the screen.
Yeah, shall we invite them?
We're going to talk about... Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
go ahead.
Well, everyone knows Nilay, and none of us would be here without Nikita.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Again, a bit. Is that you, Nikita?
Hi, everyone.
Have you headphones, Nikita?
Oh, one sec. All right. Am I still echoing? Am I good?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Okay,
Sorry.
Technical
Hello.
difficulties.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so exciting.
It's nice to see
We
you on
are
the stream.
so excited to have you. We are so excited to have you here. And I think a lot of people, I see the number here. It's so nice. And
Yes.
I think they are impatiently waiting for you to tell about this 30 days of Flutter, what it is. Let us know, please.
We'll leave you to it.
Yes, of course. I think Nikita, tell us.
Okay, I hope I'm audible now because I'm wearing my headsets. So hello everyone. I have one more person joining with me today. That's my friend Dash.
Yay.
Hi. So you all know Nilay, but a brief introduction about myself. I'm Nikita and I manage the GDG program in India. And just like you, I really love Flutter, and hence I coordinated with many folks at the Flutter team and the Flutter community to plan a journey that can help you as beginners or app developers hailing from different tech stacks to get started with Flutter. And just like Simon mentioned, I'm honestly overwhelmed with the response. Maybe it's start of the week for someone, while it's end of the day for many of us in Asia and other continents. But I'm really thankful for everyone who joined us today. If you're worried what's there for you next, just hold on. There are ample of them who are going to share what's next for you. So stay tuned with us. There's plenty of content that's curated for you and to support you to get started with Flutter. And if you're stuck somewhere, do not worry. There are Flutter GDEs and other community enthusiasts who are ready to help you as much as they can. Well, speaking about help, I think Nilay has something more to add. So over to you, Nilay.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Nikita. And hi, everyone. My name is Nilay, and I work in the Flutter team at Google. And I work with Nikita on this 30 Days of Flutter thing. Actually, Nikita did this before for 30 Days of Google Cloud, 30 Days of Kotlin. And she's like, oh, I love Flutter, and let's do this for Flutter. And I was like, okay, why not? Let's do that. So I joined Flutter team 3 years ago. And it was also when the Flutter was just like going out. It was a new technology. And when I joined the team 3 years ago, the questions we are getting from the community is that, okay, what is this Flutter thing? Or why? Or like, why this now? And after 3 years right now, like, so of course, so many companies and startup and developers started using Flutter. And of course, Kate is going to tell you about what Flutter is if you don't know. But 3 years later, the things I am hearing from the community is right now, hey, we are looking for a Flutter developer. Someone shared on Twitter, like there are over like 5,000 job openings with Flutter on LinkedIn right now. If you go and search, it's a lot. And it's like, okay, how, like we should get more new Flutter developers and fill this gap, right? And this is why we decided to do this 30 days of Flutter. And it's like, okay, let's go back to 3 years ago, what we did before. Let's start from the beginning, because there are a lot of awesome people like you who they want to learn Flutter. And let's do this together. And think this 30 days is on not just learning Flutter itself, but this is also an introduction to Flutter's all communities and places that you can get help, the places that you can ask your questions, or places that you can help other people. Because Flutter is a really great technology. It makes your life much easier to build applications, but also Flutter's community is really amazing, that everyone is really eager to help you. Simon, can I get the slide, please, on the screen? So you will see in a second that there are already so many people are starting their own things to help you. Like the local Flutter meetup groups, they started their own local study groups, if I can get it on the screen. Or there are people who is just like, who posted on Twitter, hey, I'm a Flutter GD and I am here to help you. My DM is open. So it is also important to learn how to find help when you need help. Because, you know, when learning things won't be great. It won't be easy sometimes. Oh, okay, they say we don't have slides. Okay, it's like, that's fine. You know, this is live stream, it happens. So if you go to Twitter and search for 30 Days of Flutter hashtag, you will see a lot of people posted, oh, we have this Spanish speaking community, local community, and we have a study group for 30 Days of Flutter, join us. Or there are GDs, hey, my DMs are open, help us. Or there are Flutteristas, they are like, hey, we are here to help you. So it is important to find out those places as well, so you can get help when you need. Also, you know that like things are different right now, right? This year and last year. Like I want to talk about the happy things, but we are not able to do the things. No, this is not the slide, but it's fine. It's okay. We can take it. That it is fine. So we are not able to do the things that we have been doing in the past. But on the other hand, there are like so many things available. Like there is this new Netflix show, or there is this new cooking class, or there is this new yoga class. Like it's like, okay, it's so hard to stick with something. And this is why it's like we have this 30 days of Flutter challenge, and just keep it simple. We are sharing some content with you every week, and just study with that. Just 1 hour every day. Just spend 1 hour every day, and let us know how it goes. And there are a lot of people to help you. And I want to share one last thing is that I've never done yoga in my life before, and I'm not really a workout person. But my friend told me that, hey, Nilay, let's start with this 30 days of yoga thing. And then I was like, okay. And every day we are messaging each other and saying that, hey, I've done today. Oh yeah, great, awesome. Okay, I'm doing mine. Let's do it. So we are really motivating each other. So this is why if you need help, or if you need someone, find that help in those local communities, or share with us on Twitter, share with us what you did today, or if you need help, or if you are willing to help. And yes, this is the slice. You will see a lot of people in the community already created a lot of great things for you. And we didn't ask for this. This is really the beauty of the Flutter community. For example, Farida created a 30 days of calendar that you can use to mark every day. Or the Philippines community, they created their own Philippines special 30 days of Flutter study group. Next slide. Can we go show up the next slide? And you see the Flutter Spanish community, they created a channel on their Slack for just like Spanish speaking people who are in this challenge. Or Tech Powers Girl. And next slide, please. And then our GDEs or individual community members, everyone is here to help you. So, and it's okay if you can't do 1 hour today or tomorrow, but come back tomorrow, because like this will be awesome with all of us here. So we are here to help. And in this 30 days, you will receive a content every week. And then what we ask is just spend 1 hour every day, study that content, read the docs, watch the videos, or do the code labs. And then, but if you also have your own study materials, it is fine. It is just spend 1 hour with either that materials or the ones we send. And we are so excited to see what's gonna happening at the end of 30 days. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. For the lovely introduction. I must say that we have a hashtag, which is up here somewhere. Feel free to use it in all your social media.
Yeah.
And also, Nilay, did you say the registrations are now open again?
Oh, yes. Okay. That's the surprise for everyone here who is watching the live stream. So we closed the form registration last night, but we got a lot of message, hey, I want to join. So just for you today, the form is open again. If you go to the website, you will see it. You will still have 1 day to register, and we are for sure closing it tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, by the way, and we'll hope to see you back on the stream again.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good luck, everyone. Bye.
Very nice. I think I'm very excited, Simon. Scott, just think of it: 1 month of Flutter, and people are going to do a lot of things. And at the end of the month, probably we'll see a lot of amazing apps.
I think depending on the content, we might see if we can get some screenshots and get them on the closing ceremony, and the very final thing. Show off what people have been doing.
Definitely. And if you run out of ideas, just take a look at Dribbble or any of the other sites where designers put up their portfolios, and it'll get you some inspiration. You can
absolutely
take a look, find something you want to make.
And do not forget about the hashtag. And if you need more content, subscribe there. Yes.
And we're actually in the description, there's a link to the event page where you can find, we will mention it right now, on the third tab is resources, content resources tab, where you'll find lots more information and links to more content, and we'll be going through that later on in the stream. So we have another guest from the Flutter team. Kate, will you join us, please?
Drum roll. Yay. Hello, Kate.
Hello. Good to see you all. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look at that beanie. I'm
Thanks
so jealous.
Yeah, it's actually it's snowing here where I am. I'm not sure if it's snowing where you all are. I'm not sure if
been snowing here.
you know, the first day of 30 days of Flutter coincides with a snow day. Coincidence? I think not. You know, I'm ready to stay inside and play Flutter all day. Just happy to be here.
It's great to have you.
Nice.
So we wanted to find out a bit more about, you know, what is Flutter? Kind of for the beginners, what is Flutter? What can it be used for?
Yeah, that's a really great place to start. And of course, I can tell you right off the top of my head that Flutter is an open source UI toolkit that makes beautiful, easy, fast apps that are natively compiled, that can run on multiple platforms from Android and iOS to the web. And we're even, you know, rolling out more and more desktop features as we go every day. Being open source, you know, we are on GitHub and we are completely out in the open. So anyone can contribute if, you know, they go through all of our processes for becoming a contributor to Flutter. I personally love being the welcome wagon for new contributors to Flutter. And really, what does all that mean? I'm going to see if I can break it down even a little bit more simply. I've been working on Flutter for 2 years now, as of a couple weeks ago. And before that, I was actually finishing up.
Sorry, I met you over in just before Google I/O, didn't I? Last year.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Before last, you just joined. Yeah.
And just before I joined the Flutter team, I was finishing up my degree in computer science, and I was working as an iOS developer for my university. I know I was working on a legacy code base in Objective-C with new features coming in Swift. And we had a parallel team working on the Android version of the application. And it's difficult. You know, for the
very commonplace in the industry. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I first studied graphic design, and so when I started getting into computer science, I couldn't wait to find out, how do I actually make these apps? How do I actually put these elements together? Like, I love talking about algorithms and data structures and finding elegant, efficient solutions, and that's all great. But how do I actually make something that people are going to use and they're going to see and they're going to enjoy? And whether you were painting with Python or Objective-C or a little bit of Swift, it was complicated and difficult. And, you know, if you're going to try storyboards, I mean, it's been a while since I've done it. But back when I used to use storyboards developing with iOS, if you don't have enough RAM, you're going to have a whole lot of grief.
It just reminds me as well, like, I'm sorry to talk to that point. Like, you know, I used to do Android for like 10 years. And when you're doing Android, there's ways that the operating system works and behaviors that you have to learn as a developer, right? So just the ways you go around development has to be sort of pre-prescribed, and it has so much legacy, right? So, like, you know, you're dealing with things that are in the platform since version 1 still, and that's the thing that really breaks my heart. And that it's, as an operating system, they have an obligation, sure, but as a UI toolkit with Flutter, we can ship a new version of Flutter with each release of an application, meaning that we really do get the latest and greatest, and we're not having to keep the compatibility so much with the very first versions of the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that it's so easy to kind of put a UI together, you know, I could sit down and spend about an hour putting together a really simple UI in iOS, but in the same amount of time, I could probably put together the simple skeleton for a whole application in Flutter. You know, putting together widgets is just so simple and easy that, you know, I think the first time that I sat down to use Flutter and start learning Flutter, I was shocked that, like, oh, you want an app bar? You just create an app bar. You just use the app bar widget, and you just.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that I'm hoping, at least I'm really hoping that people, the new beginner Flutter developers that just joined, they've never tried it before, they're going to experience that hot reload and hot restart and just fall in love straight away, because it is so brilliant when making UIs. Just turning around and making incremental changes is brilliant.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And for me, it was like, oh, this is a dream come true. I've always wanted to, like, just have a really simple, easy experience, you know, connecting all the pieces together and creating an experience for users. And it's easy and it's wonderful. And the fact that you're working with a single code base that runs on multiple platforms means the other thing that I would experience when I was an iOS developer were these kind of reconciliation meetings where the iOS team and the Android team would get together and we kind of see what we came up with and try and reconcile and try and make sure we were providing the same UI, the same experience for our users. And there's always little deviations that happen and you have to go back to the drawing board and make changes. And none of that is needed with Flutter because it's all the same code base.
Absolutely.
There's also something I feel is inherently just easier. I mean, even in sort of a native platform, if you had to redo some widgets or rechange some structure, you have to change so much code under the hood that would link to the UI and to manage it and so on. Whereas with the Flutter's declarative UI system, you just make your changes and UI is changed. It seems so much more direct.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Kay?
Oh yeah.
A lot of people that are watching us right now, probably they are newcomers to the community, which we welcome them very warm. And they may ask right now, they may want to know, like, if they want to start, like you said, Flutter is very easy and we love it. Absolutely. So how can they start? And you pointed out about contribution. So maybe you should also tell them how they can even start contributing. If they want to contribute, how? So maybe you should tell a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of different ways to contribute to Flutter. One of which is, just filing an issue. If there's a feature that you think is missing or lacking or a bug that you come across, I hope not, then going to GitHub and filing an issue in the Flutter repository is incredibly helpful. We usually ask for a reproducible code sample so we can see what's going on and an understanding of which Flutter version you're using. But this is also something else I did want to say about Flutter is that since we're out in the open, the feedback that we get from the community, and when you join the community, I hope that you participate in this, is invaluable. There were some big features that I landed just before the holidays in December, and I landed them on a Friday. And on Monday morning, I had actionable feedback from the community who had already started using it and discovered, hey, have you thought about this or this configuration? And I was able to make the feature even better before it even made it to like a stable release. So feedback is a great way to contribute to Flutter.
Can I carry this?
Also,
one second.
And also documentation. We have some lag.
Sorry, I'm just going to caveat that with one little thing. Sure, file issues, but search the issues first. Don't make new issues if there's already existing issues for these things. Yes. So search, and if you find one, add a thumbs up to the very first comment, the description of the issue ticket, because that will allow the Flutter team to know which ones we find more important as a community to get fixed first.
And you will not be the lucky 25th person to file the same issue. You will not win a prize.
Yes, that is also very, very good asterisk right there on the end. We do have some folks that try and help us manage our issue database and dedupe and make sure our upvotes get to the right place. But also Scott mentioned documentation. That's also my second favorite gateway contribution method that I like to tell people about. It's how I started because contributing to open source, on GitHub or wherever can be really, really intimidating, and for me personally, when I first thought about, contributing to open source code, I was like, well, who's going to want my code? So writing sample code or improving our documentation is incredibly low risk. You don't have to worry about breaking anything. You don't have to worry about, adding a bug or a feature that won't work. You can just write a little bit of documentation that makes something a little bit clearer if you found that the documentation wasn't super understandable. Or you can write a snippet of sample code that shows how a widget works. And if you look in the code base, we actually have little embed tags that actually puts the sample code into interactive Dart pads in the API docs. And in November, they had an Adopt a Widget campaign where they did a lot of these sample.
I was going to ask what the result was of that, because I heard like they all got adopted really quickly.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure how many they had to start, but they had like a list of ones that folks could adopt. And within, I think, the first day or two, all of them were gone. And it really took off, and we're still getting adopt a widget pull requests. It's kind of become this persisting thing where people will label them adopt a widget, and it's great because these are things that folks come across when they are looking at our documentation, and they use these tools to learn how to use Flutter. So that's another great way to get started contributing.
That's another contribution. There's that button in the top right for like see the documentation source code, and you can just submit a pull request right there. Edit if there's a spelling mistake or some issue, fix it, submit a PR straight from within GitHub, no problems.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too, what you were saying, the tools for people to learn. One thing I found invaluable when teaching workshops is the fact that you can use Dartpad combined with gists in order to set up a Flutter UI on Dartpad. And also by combining a test file with a main file, this is for some of you more advanced folks, you can hide the stuff that your students don't need to see and put in main all the things they do need to see, which what this really does for you beginners, it lets you try out Flutter without ever installing it. You can go over to Dartpad and fire it up with a Flutter UI and start playing around right there.
Correct. One more question. But before that, let me also mention, we talked about Dartpad. I think beginner should know that they can also try Flutter on Codepen. So they don't need to install anything. They can just go to Codepen and try it out. That's amazing. But one more question I have personally, actually. It's nice to know, like, as a software engineer who is working on Flutter, which feature of Flutter do you like the most?
Oh, wow, that's a really hard question.
I was gonna say, can you just choose
one
one?
that I should probably, but at the same time, I feel like I should have like an answer ready for that. I would have to say hot reload. But actually, no, I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to say hot restart, because hot reload gets all the shine and sparkle, which is fantastic because it is wicked fast. But if you're working with a really complicated app and there's lots of state going on and you want to make sure that, you get everything, especially with animations and stuff like that, hot restart is just as mind-blowing, and it starts you right over from the beginning, and it's just, I can't sing it enough praises, but I think everybody knows that. And if you didn't, you heard it here first.
If you have not heard about hot reload and hot restart, you'll see at least by end of today.
So I think, we don't want to run behind schedule, but I love the chat we've had. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again at some point, and thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Have fun on your 30 days. And
Thank you.
Hey, they can always go a little bit longer than 30.
Yeah, right.
Have fun, everyone.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks, Kate.
See ya.
Bye. So, Scott, I think me and Majid are going to leave you so you can get started on the next segment. I do want to just mention, though, that we have got coming up an installation guide. We'll walk you through installing Flutter, and we'll also get you going on the first code lab. So stick with us, and we're just going to go through some community stuff, and then we'll be back up.
I really appreciate that. It's going to help me out quite a bit.
Good luck.
Thank you. All righty. What we've got coming up next is a little bit of an intro into some of the things that can help you as Flutter developers. We all get stuck. We all need to know where to turn. We all sometimes want to look around and see what's new. And Flutter community has spent the last 3 years building a collection of resources and a support structure that is second to none. So with all this, I'd like to introduce a few folks here. Jay.
Hi there.
Jay runs our Flutter community GitHub. Then we have Nash. Nash runs the Medium.
Hello.
Mark is one of the people who whips Reddit into line.
Hey all.
And Groovin Chip. Hey.
Hey there.
Hi there.
Right here from the Discord. And one of the original Flutter GDEs, Randall Schwartz.
Hey everybody.
Welcome, Randall. Thanks for coming on the stream.
Yeah, thank you.
So we have all these different resources for people to work with Flutter. Now, one of them, I'll just blow my own horn and get out of the way here. But a while back, we realized that it would be beneficial for the Flutter community as a whole worldwide to have a Slack. So we created the Flutter community Slack. You can get to it from flutter.dev/community. In fact, you can get to all these things from right there. Okay, not from Randall, but what's below Randall.
Further down, further down.
Yes, yes. Thank you for passing that along. But flutter.dev community is where you can find all these things. You'll find a link to the Slack, and you can also find links to great things like, well, what that guy's doing.
Hi.
Jay?
Yeah. So hi, everybody. I'm Jay. And at the Flutter community, I run the GitHub that we have. So the GitHub has a couple different facets to it. But mainly we have a community organization, the Flutter community organization that you can visit right now. And what we do is we collect packages that are made by the community. So by people like you and me, and the lovely people on this call. And we collect them and make sure that they're easy to find and in one place. Now, that's not the only thing that we do. One problem that we see in a lot of open source repositories and projects in general is that multiple people will try to solve the same thing. And so you'll have multiple packages that all try to do the same thing in different ways, and one will break and the other is incompatible, stuff like that. They won't get updated. And now that really bothered us. So what we try to do is we collect packages that the community makes, and then we put them all in the community repository, and we make sure that they keep being maintained and that there's a standard of code quality to them. Not just that, if a maintainer at some point thinks like, hey, I don't really want to maintain this package anymore, then we put it up for adoption, just like the Flutter team did. So
just
that
like
way,
a puppy.
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, just like that, we put it up for adoption so that another maintainer can take over, make sure it gets updated and it has a steady release date and all that. Issues are getting handled properly. And yeah, I mainly manage that together with some other lovely people. So yeah, that's what I do. So please check it out at some point if you want to at fluttercommunity.dev/GitHub. You can read everything there and see a list of all our packages.
All righty. Well, hey, why don't we just keep on passing it right down the line? We'll go over, Jay, to Nash. Nash, you have been spearheading the medium for a long time now. So what's going on there? And tell us a little bit about it. Now, apparently Nash's camera froze. Did Nash freeze? Hello, Nash. His Wi-Fi just died. Okay, I got a message from him. Okay, so we're going to skip right now to Randall. Now, Randall, fortunately, I have other ways of getting messages from Nash, sometimes in the middle of the night. But anyway, Randall, I have it on good authority that you might be familiar with a book that came out a long time ago called Beginning Perl.
Programming Perl, but yes.
Programming Perl, yes. Sorry. And the reason that I bring that up, back around October 2017, you and I were having a conversation, and you told me that when Perl came out, you had a feeling about it, right? And then you were going on to what you felt about Flutter.
Yes, yes. So when Perl first came out, it was solving a lot of problems for me. And that worked really well. I stayed really intensely with it with the community. I still am sort of slightly on the fringe of the community, but still tracking that really well. But the key thing is that, I heard about Dart 10 years ago, started playing with a little bit, or whatever it was, 9 years ago, I forget now. And then Flutter came along and I went, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Because within a few hours of me discovering it, I had an app on my phone and I had not any intention of learning all the stuff it takes to do the vendor tools for my phone. That just seemed like way too much to learn. But I had an app on my phone written in Flutter within a few hours of discovering this stuff. And I was excited about it. I think this has legs. I have been committing at least an hour or two a day, I've got to tell you, making my rounds. So just to let you all know that you can get questions answered 24/7. We're going to talk about the Getter channel for this. We're going to talk about how you can post questions to Stack Overflow with a Dart or Flutter tag. There's about 150 questions a day coming through that channel. Reddit has some subreddits that are really good. I'm reading all those, and I'm answering as many of those as I can. But also, by answering the questions, I'm learning even more. So my knowledge keeps going up faster and faster. I'm also doing my own screencast. We'll have the link to that somewhere else. But this is exciting for me. This is, in fact, a whole new arena. And if it comes out anywhere as good as Perl did, which some of you will poo-poo, but that's okay. I don't mind. Flutter is amazing. And the more platforms it ends up on, the fancier it gets, the more the guys at Google headquarters keep breaking it down. And I also want to follow up that what Kate said about issues was great. You can contribute to Flutter. You can read the stuff that's there. You can contribute to the packages that are available in Pub, which we'll talk about shortly. It's so amazing. It's just a wonderful community. But yes, we are there for you. We have answers for questions, and 24/7.
Awesome. Hey, one other thing I want to point out real quick before we keep going. I noticed somebody asking in the chat about t-shirts. Please remember, I don't work for Google. Neither do any of these guys. Okay. We are with the Flutter community. The reason I've got the really cool shirts is because there are nice people at Google who kind of like, slip them to me out the back door. But all right, before we lose them again, Nash.
Yeah,
Nash has been working on the Medium again for about 3 years now.
Yeah, thereabouts. So it wouldn't be live if someone didn't have internet problems. So unfortunately, I'm that person today. The Flutter community Medium is really great. So we started it in 2018, June 2018. So about 3 years now. And there is content there from everything from design to backend to advanced Flutter, beginner content. And it's really a repository of really great articles written by members of the community over the last 3 years on pretty much everything Flutter related. So during this month, you can go over to medium.com/flutter-community and check out our Getting Started page, which has a lot of curated beginner content to help you get up and running with Flutter. And if you're in more advanced developers, there's over 1,000 articles in there. So there's something in Medium for everyone. So go on over, check it out, and we hope that you learn something with one of the articles that we've written. So I'm going to keep this going before my internet dies again, and I'm going to pass this over to Mark.
Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Nash. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction into Reddit. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Reddit and what exactly it is. Scott, I've been trying to tell you for a long time to head over to the reddit.com/r/flutterdev. Maybe I'll convince you sometime, but the great thing about Reddit, and especially the Flutter community on Reddit, is that we have over 60,000 developers who are constantly posting new content every single day. And this content is extremely useful, whether it's for new developers or it's the seasoned veterans. And the type of content you can expect to see there would be newsletters such as the Flutter Force, or it could be the Flutter Developer Weekly. But not only that, you can find yourself seeing links towards really useful Flutter YouTubers. And I know, for example, generic typing has been featured there before, Jay. So that's actually how I discovered Jay's content at the very start, and it was thanks to Reddit. And this is the thing I try and drill to everyone: is if you're new to Flutter or if you're seasoned, you have to share your content there, or you just learn from there. It's just an excellent resource. But not only that, I always encourage people, if they've got like a brand new package, one of the best things they can do to get it in the eyes and get Flutter developers using it is to share it to Reddit. And it just gets people talking about it and also using it and giving feedback, which is excellent. But yeah, what I want to say to everyone is, you have to check out Reddit, and what you're really waiting for, just head over there, reddit.com/r/flutterdev.
Alrighty, Chip.
Hey, so
that would leave you.
I'll try to be really brief, given that I'm last here. So I co-moderate the Flutter Dev Discord group as well as the Flutter Dev subreddit. It is a really great group. I actually got started with the Discord group, after Google I/O of 2018. I saw a talk on Flutter, and I went to search on Reddit for Flutter, found the Flutter dev subreddit, went to the Discord from the sidebar, and it's history from there. I've been working with Flutter just about every day since then. I'm now working as a Flutter developer full-time. Wonderful community, very supportive. I learned so much from that group. And I'll just briefly mention as well that the Flutter dev subreddit has a sort of sister subreddit called Flutter Help, which is where beginners and people can ask questions. It's specifically for asking questions and getting answers. The Flutter dev subreddit is a little bit more for general content and discussion. Yeah, I'll pass it off.
Well, hey, thanks a lot for all that, Chip. A couple other things, too, to let you know is there are some people who have not been able to be with us today, and they do fantastic work on YouTube. One of them, you can look them up on YouTube as MTech Viral. Pawan, PK, does awesome content. And another one that is great for the Arab world, especially learning Dart, and I know I'm going to ruin his name here, but his name is Rauf Raji, and I really don't think I got that right. But in English, his name is Raouf Rahiche. Alrighty. Well, hey, thanks, guys, for all of that. And now we are going to shuffle people around a little bit backstage. And we are about to start Coffee with the Flutteristas. There we go. Oop. This is what happens when you have two people adding. Now, Daniela, Rona, and Nawal, enjoy yourselves and take it away.
Awesome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 30 Days Flutter Challenge event. We're so glad to have you with us tonight. Today we have Rona, Danielle, and of course me to chat about the Flutteristas while having our coffee. So let's start off with Rona. Rona, could you please introduce yourself and your experience with the Flutteristas?
Sure. My name's Rona, and I've been building with Flutter for the last 2+ years. I heard about and joined the Flutteristas in early 2019, but we've actually been around since 2018. We are a group for folks who identify as female or non-binary, and obviously you have to have a passion for Flutter. So I identify as female, and I have a passion for Flutter, so Flutteristas spoke to me, and I wanted to get in on that fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rona. I'd like to have now Danielle as well to introduce herself and to talk about her experience as being one of the organizers in Flutteristas.
Hi, sure. Well, we were actually created by a Googler as it being a safe or comfortable place for women and non-binary folk to get together, and it's turned out to be that, because I think most of us that fall into that category find ourselves usually the only one in the room like that. So we've done that. And with the Flutteristas, I've been a member since I learned about Flutter, which was January of 2019, almost I guess a little over 2 years now. But real quickly, what we do is we have a Slack channel where you can kind of have our own little group of smaller group of people that we talk with and stuff like that. You can ask questions, you can share your triumphs, things like that. We have monthly meetups with usually with Googler, like Kate has done one before. Our last one was one of the DevRel, and he was talking about the animations with Flutter. And we are working toward our conference on March 27th. So that's going to be great. It's going to be run by Flutteristas, and we hope it'll be a great experience for everybody. You don't have to be a Flutterista to attend, and we hope that you will. We have an email for you to join. I will put that up on the screen in a little bit, but that's Flutteristas, Flutteristas @gmail.com. And now I'd like to kind of kick it back to Nawal and ask her, why did you join Flutteristas?
You're muted, Noel.
You're muted, Noel.
Well, here we go again. Okay, thanks, Danielle. I'm currently working on a Flutter project that focuses on delivering telemedicine services. Now, back to your question, which is a great question. I remember a former Googler announced that there is a Flutteristas group back in 2018. So I thought it would be a great idea to join a Flutter group that focuses on empowering those who identify as women and underrepresented groups, whilst having fun building Flutter applications. Now, just to note that the Flutteristas is part of the Flutter community. So at the end of the day, we both communities share the same invaluable outputs.
That's great. So I definitely would assume that if someone identifies as female or non-binary and they like Flutter, you would recommend they join?
Yes, definitely. I think it's the ultimate goal of any developer in 2021 and onwards to definitely join.
That's great. Let's see.
Okay, thanks, Noel. So hopefully everyone has learned a little bit about the Flutteristas. We're trying to keep it short. I know we've got some folks ready to dive right into Flutter. But we have one little pitch to get you to join Flutteristas. We have over 100 members from all over the world, but we want to keep growing. So if you identify as female or non-binary and love Flutter or want to get into Flutter, please join us. Don't hesitate to email us at flutteristas@gmail.com. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to give any one of us a shout on Twitter. You'll see our handles on the screen. And we hope everybody has a great 30 days of Flutter. Have fun.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Scott, are you here with us? I think I've lost a Scott here. Oh, hang on. Where is he? There we go. You're muted, Scott. There we go. So technical difficulties.
I'm not. You're adding me, I'm removing me. You're adding me, I'm removing me.
So what is next? I mean, we were talking about doing a short break and then actually getting into what we're here for. How does that sound?
It sounds great. We are running a little bit behind schedule. Apologies for that, folks, but there's so much available to help you out. Hopefully it's worth taking an extra few minutes. And go ahead, grab a drink, go hit the lavatory, and we will see you in about 5.
Yeah, see you in 5. Right, here we are. We're back after the break. And I'm going to hand over to Majid here, who's going to introduce our next speakers. Hey.
Oh, hello. And welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed this little break. I think it was needed. Okay, let's get back to the stage. So when it comes to resources about learning Flutters, it's going to be a lot, to learn. So, of course, and we have, Flutter team actually prepared a lot of content for you and resources and community as well. I'd like to introduce Tomek and Nash with me on stage, and they will walk you through the resources that you can go and review and learn Flutter even better. Nash and Tomek, stage is yours.
Over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so hello again, everyone. I'm Nash. I'm back this time. Hopefully my internet cooperates with me again. And today with me, I have Tomek, who is my favorite friend from Poland. So Tomek, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, everybody. So I don't want to go into too much detail about myself because we didn't go into too much technical details during this live stream, and this changes now. So me and Nash will introduce you the resources that you can use, and the nerdier you are, the more useful those resources will be for you. Okay, yeah. Nash, could you start? So maybe one thing, you got already this link in your email, and here is a nice list of what we will go through. So Nash, please, let's get started.
Yes. Now, this event is all about Flutter, but before we can get started with Flutter, I think it's important for us to learn a bit about the language behind Flutter. And of course, I am referring to Dart. Now, Dart, if you're new to Flutter and you're not familiar with Dart, that's totally fine. The guides for this event takes into account beginners and people who are new to the Dart language. So there are lots of examples and snippets on the Dart website that you can follow along. So even if you're new to programming, there is stuff like variable declaration, control flows, functions. There's an overview of everything that you need to know on the Dart website. Now, if you're a beginner and you're getting started with Flutter, installing a new language onto your computer can be a bit difficult and sometimes tedious. So if you're like me and you like to try stuff out before you install, there's a really great tool called Dartpad. Now, Dartpad is an online Dart editor, which allows you to quickly write and run your Dart code directly in your browser. Now, okay, there we go. Tomic is playing around with Dartpad, and the cool thing about Dartpad is it also allows you to run your Flutter code. So here you can see you have your code on the left and your preview on the right. So it allows you to quickly get your hands up and running with some Flutter and some Dart code. So you can go to dartpad.dev. I know, right? It's fun today. To quickly try out and run Dart in your browser. Now, if you're coming from another language, then don't worry. Dart is a very familiar language. If you're coming from JavaScript as a web developer or Android and Java, then the syntax of Dart will be very familiar to you. But if you're like me, and when you're first getting started, you might have some questions. You're like, why Dart? Why did Flutter choose Dart? And to tell us about this, Tomic is going to give us a brief overview.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a really good question. And probably here there are plenty of advanced developers thinking, like Flutter, nice framework, but there are so many more languages. Why Flutter has to use Dart? So you can read all about it under this link, but one of the reasons is the hot restart and reload. They are using Dart just in time and ahead of that time compilation to achieve that. There are also some other reasons, but if you want to geek out on this, please do check out this link. Okay, I saw in the chat so many people saying how to install Flutter, how to install Flutter. Okay, now we are getting to the point. So here is the link on the guides to install Flutter. But I would wait a second, because today, after our talk, Simon will be doing the live session regarding the installation of Flutter. So this link is mainly if you get lost at some point, you can get back on track. Okay, but after our talk, when you will be installing Flutter, so Nash, what they can do?
Yeah, so Tomic, you and I, we know how tedious it can be to install a new SDK. It's a very time-consuming process depending on your internet and different factors like your computer. But don't worry, Flutter has you covered. There are lots of different things you can look at or try out while you are downloading and installing Flutter. The very first thing you can try out is actually the Flutter documentation. So if you go to flutter.dev/docs, it's a really, really good way for new developers to get up and running quickly with Flutter. So here you can see there are different sections and categories for getting started, which is like a very basic from installation to writing your first widget. Then there is stuff that is more advanced, like a cookbook. So if you're coming from another platform, the cookbook might be beneficial for you, especially if you have like prior programming experience. You can take a look at how things are done in Flutter, and you can try to follow along, and everything is really documented step by step and broken down in a way for you to understand. Now, the cookbook also have information on animation, design, networking, and a bunch of different topics. So if you're adventurous and you're eager for some technical know-how, go ahead, check out the cookbook. It's really good. Now, if you're really bored, or you're like me and you're just curious, you can check out the Widget Catalog. And the Widget Catalog is a really nice overview of the different components you can play with and try out while your Flutter installation is going. So it's really cool because you can go in here, pick a widget that you like, and then go to Dartpad and run your Dart code in your browser and have everything update on Chrome. So that's really, really good. Now, not everyone likes reading. I am one of those. I'm definitely one of those developers who learn and enjoy visual content. So for me, something that I would love to do is watch videos. Now, luckily, the Flutter team have put together some really, really great content on the official Flutter YouTube channel, and Flutter community has some great content on the Flutter community YouTube channel. So if you're eager to learn more, check out the Widget of the Week series on the Flutter Dev YouTube channel, which is a really nice breakdown of common widgets and a step-by-step guide of how to use them in your application. But if you're like Tomic and you're more technical, then check out the Flutter community channel, where there are talks on different technical content from past events and other things. So Tomic, we've talked about people coming from other platforms. Why don't you show us some of the resources we have to help out these individuals?
Yeah, sure. So probably there are some developers here that have done some different UI platforms. For example, like me, I used to be Android developer. And for me, it's the best way to learn is to have a comparison between Android and Flutter. For example, what are the similarities, what are differences, and how to do different things there. And if you are Android, iOS, React Native, web, or Xamarin developers, those are really good resources for you to have basically the comparison between those multiple frameworks. Okay, and finally, we have a set of some other resources. For example, this is a really good video telling us how Flutter differs to different cross-platform frameworks. I saw today already in the chat like CodePush that some other cross-platform uses, and this is one difference. But apart from difference, there are similarities. One of the similarity with some cross-platform framework is hot reload. So Nash, could you tell us something about hot reload in Flutter?
Yes. So if you were here earlier, you would have seen the session with Kate, and she said hot reload and hot restart is one of her favorite parts of Flutter. And it's actually one of the secret sauce of Flutter. It's what makes Flutter really, really amazing and sets it out from the rest. Now, hot reload, the way I like to think about it, it's magic. You make your code changes in your IDE, you save, and it updates into your emulator in under 1 second. It's really, really great. You can change colors, you can swap widgets in and out. And if you're making larger changes, such as you're changing an entire widget or you're extracting a bit of logic, you can do a hot restart, which reruns your Dart code, but actually it doesn't rebuild the app. So it still gives you that really fast iterative development lifecycle, which is really, really great and really powerful. Now, Tomic, the best part about development experience is having everything tied together. And where Flutter stands out is the Flutter plugin for IntelliJ and VS Code actually combines hot reload and into the tooling. So making changes in your IDE, such as IntelliJ, and hitting save can automatically trigger a hot reload on your emulator, making for a really, really nice fluid development experience. And don't worry for you CLI developers out there who love running your toolchain in the command line, you can actually just type R in your terminal, hit enter, and watch your pixels paint to life. So that's really, really great. Now, while Tomic and I were presenting some of these resources, we're mentioning widgets and declarative quite a lot. So Flutter uses the declarative format to define how a layout will look. So Tomek, why don't you tell us what declarative UI is and how Flutter uses it?
Yeah, sure, I will. But first, I would like to add one more thing about hot reload. One of the favorite features of Flutter. So hot reload not only works on the code that you wrote, but also it works on the framework code, on the Flutter. So you can go into any widget of Flutter, change code there, and live, save it, and live you will see the entire everything change. You can mess up your list, images, everything. So it's really nice for learning, because the more you break, the more you learn. Okay, so this was about the hot reload. And let's talk about Flutters and the declarative UI. So if you are not familiar with what is declarative and imperative way of creating, let me give you a quick example with my favorite beverage, coffee. If you want to make coffee in an imperative way, you need to give it steps like in recipe. So for example, I would you need to put some instant coffee into the cup, boil some water, add water to the cup, and wait for 1 minute or 2. So this is imperative, like giving you steps. But declarative way of creating things is you describe it, the end result. So for example, coffee is a hot beverage made of coffee beans. And this is the difference between creating declarative way, which you describe stuff, versus imperative, you say exactly these steps. And you can read more about declarative UI in Flutter in this link. Okay, Nash, can you tell us something about widget intro?
Oh, widgets. Widgets are my favorite thing in Flutter. So everything in Flutter is a widget. You can think of text. Text is a widget. You can think of alignment. Alignment is a widget. Widgets are like Lego blocks. You use different widgets. There you go. Use different widgets to stack together and build and compose your UI. So you can think of mixing different widgets and matching different patterns to bring your UI to life. And like we showed earlier in the Flutter documentation, there's a really great catalog of different widgets that are available to you pre-made as a Flutter developer. So go on in there, choose some widgets, mix them, match them, and try building something awesome. And of course, there's a more in-depth document on widgets on the flutter.dev website. So feel free to check out both resources to learn more about widgets.
Thank you, Nash. And still, if anybody has some questions, please go to the frequently asked questions section, because most of them will answer your queries. And with rest, we can handle it on Twitter. Okay, Nash, are we done?
No, we're getting to the fun part, Tomek. Now, as part of today's event, we have 2 really great code labs for you to check out. They're part 1 and part 2 of the same code lab. And part 1 is actually a step-by-step guide on getting Flutter up and running on your machine. It covers everything from install all the way up to building your very first Flutter application. So everything that we've talked about today, declarative UI, hot reload, and mixing and matching different widgets to create an application. This code lab is going to give you a refresher on everything. So go on, check it out. And when you're finished, tweet us a picture of the app that you've built using the 30 days of Flutter hashtag on Twitter. So we can't wait to see what you build.
Yes, that will be really exciting. But if you are also excited in learning even more, because you want a bit more in-depth knowledge, here are good further readings. For example, how the layouting system works on Flutter. But if this is a bit too advanced to you, as we mentioned before, Flutter community Medium has like plenty of articles on different skill levels. So hopefully you will enjoy the resources that Flutter provides to you.
Yes, and don't forget, if you're stuck and you need some help, then tweet us on Twitter. Use the hashtag 30daysofFlutter, and there are members of the community who will be happy to help you out. So whether you're doing the code lab, or you're experimenting, or you're trying something more advanced, come on Twitter, say hello, and we'll be really happy to help you out. So before we close, there's actually one bit of trivia that I'm going to leave you with. and that is Flutter is an open source technology that was born at Google. Now, does anyone know when the first public commit for Flutter was made? If you think you know the answer, come tell us on Twitter using 30 days of Flutter. So we're looking forward to all of your answers and your questions. So with that said, I'm going to hand the stream over back to Majid.
All right, thank you very much. Scott, are you with me?
Yes, I see Scott there, but he's muted.
Yes, very good.
Not muted.
Thank you very much, Nash and Tomek. It was a lot of good contents, of course, and perhaps we need to have, we need to give some time to, people just go through it and build something and tweet us. So this is the hashtag
Definitely.
there, and do not forget to let us know what you are doing. We are super duper excited to see what you are doing. Thank you very much, Nash and Tomek.
Okay,
bye.
Pleasure.
Before we get started on that real quick, we have a reward for those of you who stuck around. We have a lot of people who left the stream, but for those of you who are left, want to let you know that this Wednesday, in 2 days, at the same time when we started, we're going to have a special program. We're going to have some Googlers in for interviews, and also it's a program that is a new version of what we call Hump Day Q&A. Now, Hump Day is slang for the middle of the week, being Wednesday, the middle of the work week, if you work Monday to Friday like we do in the Western world. So then what we're going to be doing after the Google interview is Q&A, and that is an open Q&A. Any questions you're having about problems, if your rows and columns are exploding, if you're trying to figure out semantics, whatever you need help with, come onto the stream. It's Hump Day Q&A. We used to do this live with everyone in Zoom. It got a little too popular to keep that up, so now we're going to move it to a stream. But because you stuck around, you're here to hear it. So with that said, I think Simon is about ready to blow up some live code and have it all go wrong.
I think everyone is impatiently waiting for you, Simon. What do you have for us?
Well, I've created a VM. Here it is here, guys. And we're going to attempt, and I say attempt because this has been a long time since I've installed Flutter myself. We're going to try and attempt to install Flutter and try and get an Android app working in front of us right now in a very short amount of time. So talk amongst yourselves, please. Give me feedback. Obviously, if you've had problems in similar places, we'd love to hear about it. And we're always trying to sort of streamline this approach. So first of all, get started. Now I've got Windows virtual machine, so we're going to set up Windows here. And let's see here, get the Flutter SDK. Right. So whilst that's downloading, I pre-prepared a few downloads. So I went ahead to and installed Sublime just as an editor. We had to have Git installed. Well, you don't have to have Git installed, but it's preferable. So let's install that and hope that the demo gods are with us and we're not going to have any failures. I'm trying to take you through from the very, very beginning here so that you really get an understanding of, if you have not got any development tools installed, this is how we do it. So we're just going to kind of just sort of keep going all the way through this and do all the defaults. I don't really. There we go. And let's see if we can get 2 installs going. So I'm going to use IDA. Which is just Android Studio, really, a stripped down version of Android Studio as my development environment. So fingers crossed. Now I was, let's see, opening this. And we're just going to try very, very quickly here to try and get everything installed. So I'm just going to extract Flutter to the hard drive here, if things want to behave. Now, when you install Flutter, you can check it out from the repository. And since I don't have Git installed, I'm not going to run this command here. But those that have Git installed can just check out the stable branch. So one of the important bits, you do not want to view the release notes. Let's get these installs going. Again, I didn't really want to come pre-prepared because I wanted to just sort of walk you through all of the steps here as a completely brand new developer to Flutter. Okay, so one of the things that we want to do, since we now have Flutter on our hard drive here, I just put it in C drive, you can put it wherever you want, is this bin folder right here. This bin folder has the tooling that we're going to use, and we need to put this in the path. And this is so your command line on Windows or your terminal in other operating systems can see things. So I've just typed environment here in the search, which will pop up with edit your environment variables. Now there are two, there's path here and there's path down here. If you alter the path in system variables, you require a logout or a reboot to get that. In the user variables, each time you launch an app, this will be use the latest one. So we're just going to pop that in there. And I'm going to move it to the top so it takes priority. That should be it. And I'm just
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but there is kind of one important thing. If you don't do that correctly, or a sign you didn't do that correctly, is when you try to run any command that starts with Flutter in your command line, such as Flutter Doctor, it's going to turn around and say it can't find it. So that right there tells you that the path isn't set. So
since I've added to my path, it should be found here. And if you want to check, there's I think it's where. We're going to find out if that works. There we go. And where is telling us where it's found Flutter. You can see it's found it in the right folder now. If you type where Flutter and it doesn't find anything, that means you haven't added to your path correctly. So this is going to be recorded. So if I'm going too quickly for you, I do apologize, but we are running a little bit behind right now. So if you do come back to the recording, you can follow this through. As you can see here, it guides you through all these steps I'm talking about right here. So the first step are, so we've extracted, we've added to a path, and then the next command that we want to run is Flutter Doctor. So let's go to the command line and say Flutter Doctor. And here we go. Now it's found that I don't have the Dart SDK installed, so it's going to download it. And then here we go. And it's also going to download the Dart SDK. It's going to download anything that's required for development, really. So whilst it's doing that, let's check back on our installs. Okay, our community edition of IntelliJ is running. So let's boot that up.
Simon, can I ask a question? Maybe some people have a question here. So you installed actually IntelliJ. Maybe other people want to use like VS Code or Android Studio. Is there any like preferred IDE to use for Flutter, or?
So this is it. Like every developer has their way in their setup for their IDE and the buttons that they like. So choose the IDE that's right for you. If you've used VS Code or you have VS Code, continue using VS Code. If you have Android Studio already installed because you're an Android developer, for example, go ahead and use that. I prefer just to take a step back and use IntelliJ, which means I'm not using anything specific for any one platform. All these tools are supported on Android, Mac, and Windows. So you haven't really, Linux, Mac, and Windows. So you haven't really got a problem there. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a preference. My preference is IntelliJ.
Right. And another thing too, a lot of people never talk about IntelliJ. All it really is Android Studio is built on IntelliJ. It just has a lot of extra things thrown on it for Android. And since some of us don't need those extra things, we just use IntelliJ.
Okay, so here I am just booting up IntelliJ. Now, you might think we can just do a new project. However, we don't have anything to do with Flutter installed in IntelliJ. So what we actually want to do is click on this little icon down here. It'll be the one time they've changed it on me. Plugins, there we go, they've moved it. That's fine. So we want to go to the marketplace and look for Flutter. And there's the official Flutter one with 7.7 million downloads. Let's install that. And that's going to tell us that it requires Dart plugin to be installed. So we just install that. Each IDE has its own set of plugins available. This is exactly the same as what it would be for Android Studio, by the way. So that's going to restart that. And let's check on our download. Here we go. So it's it's building the to be clear, it actually builds the Flutter tool, the command line tool on your computer, so it's always guaranteed to work for your computer. And here we go. It's going to download all the other dependencies in the background. So we need to have this installed before we can start. Now I'm going to go back to our 30 days of Flutter content here, where you guys can find it. Here is the code lab, and if everything goes well, so setting up your Flutter environment. This kind of takes us through some of these steps, and I would always refer to the flutter.dev website. You can see here, this is the special line that you add to enable web. We're not going to be doing that right now. Okay, so here we go. So let's close that and run Flutter Doctor once more to get a clean screen. Okay, what do we have? Okay, so now it's picked up that we have Flutter installed. It's on stable 122 on Windows. We're missing the Android toolchain. Aha, so that's the next thing we're going to need to do. And then we also have, it says we haven't got Android Studio installed. That's fine. We're using IntelliJ instead. And if we had VS Code, when we're missing that, which again, we're not going to be using that. So we can ignore these warnings right on my machine right here. But hopefully on your machine, you'll get green ticks all the way down. So let's install the Android SDK and set up the path environment variable, as it says here, and the Android SDK root. So I did try and download our command line tools. We're going to see what happens here. This is going to be interesting. So let's see how far we get here. So we want to look at SDK Manager, I think it is. Oh, look, our first bug, we don't have Java installed. So Android, when you're dealing with Android development, which we are going to be doing here, we require this. I'm actually wondering now, maybe we should use web. And this will allow us not to worry about using the Android SDK right this minute. You can install the Android SDK and Java in your own time. So I'm going to follow the guide here, and we're going to run, as it suggests, we need to switch to the beta channel. So Flutter channel, go on.
Simon, I think you should explain like what is these channels and how many channels Flutter has, because many people probably don't know. Okay,
sorry. So the repository, which it's dealing with right now, has several branches. There's three major branches. There's four major branches. You have stable, beta, dev, and master. Master is the one that has the most breaking changes. So as the Flutter team start making code changes and putting them in, that's master. Then you've got dev. That's normally on a weekly release cycle. There is more information about the release cycle and how often these branches change and how often you can use Flutter Upgrade. However, the Flutter tool, when you run your app, it will tell you if you're out of date, and it will suggest you run Flutter Upgrade, like we see right here. So it's master, then dev, and that will be less breaking changes, but more recent changes. Beta branch, which I vaguely remember is monthly, or it might be quarterly, I forget. But that will have all of the beta features. This is ready for you to, if you wanted to, you could release with this. It's your choice. But the stable, this next branch above that, stable, that's the one we recommend you release. You release your apps under, because with stable, you're getting, well, the most stable version of Flutter. And if there's any hot fixes from newer, if they find problems after releasing stable, they will hot fix it back in. That means they pull just a little bit of change that they've done back into the stable branch. You'll get the most stable version of Flutter. And we recommend that's what you release your apps with. So Flutter Upgrade. Now what this is going to do, here we go again. So there is, so this is going to download the Dart SDK version that's for the beta channel. Okay. Now there is a tool out there called Flutter Version Manager, or FVM, that allows you to run multiple versions of Flutter. This is not a beginner thing, so I don't recommend it right now. However, if you find yourself changing these branches very often, it's very advantageous to install Flutter Version Manager. You can have multiple versions of Flutter installed and running. Again, not for beginners. So hopefully we'll get this installed.
So the reason that you changed to beta right now is because web is supported in beta, right?
Yes, web is only supported in beta.
I see.
Let's see. Hopefully,
now, one other point about that, I am getting asked an awful lot. Is web ready for production? Or there are a lot of companies assuming web is already ready for production. And that's not what the Flutter team is saying. But if people want to run ahead and grab it and try to run with that ball, that's fine. So,
yes.
I'd say it's exactly that, right? I mean, it's beta, which basically means there can be changes, there can be bugs, and it's not stable yet. So you know, it's pick or choose. But to be honest, for myself, I've used it before. We used it in the Flutter Hackathon, and that was an event with multiple thousands of people attending. And we also had we've also used it to great success as a web app backend for our mobile apps. So as like a CMS or a content management system or CRM relationship manager. I can't remember what it stands for. But that notion that it's a standalone thing. It's not necessarily released to millions of people, right? But you know, it's becoming stable more every day, and the Flutter team are making huge strides to improve the web experience. So let's see. Here we go. Flutter is already up to date. We're on the beta channel. We have a version. And as you can see here, it tells us that the framework, that is the underlying system, that was released 3 weeks ago. So we're very up to date. That's the revision. And we have Dart 2.12. And that's how you can, well, we'll get, that's for null safety. We'll get there another time. Anyway, right. So Flutter Config, enable web.
Oh, I think you missed the dash. Oh. Enable dash.
Correctly, right. Yeah, there we go. Okay, enable web is set to true. You need to restart any editors. So, well, we haven't got any editors open. But now what we're going to do is find IntelliJ. There we go. Let's add it to our pin to start so we can find it again. Launch IntelliJ. And here's where we hope. So what's next here? Next.
Can I also mention that if anyone of you right now has a question, you can ask in the chat or use this hashtag here. So we will pick your question and ask either today or other days. So ask your question. Do not be shy.
So here we go. So we have the ID installed. We have Flutter installed, and it's on our path, and we can run it from the command line. It's very important. So new project. Now, if at any point you do these things that we're doing here and it doesn't work, go back to your terminal and type in Flutter Doctor, and that'll tell you if you've got any problems. Okay, that's your first point of call. So here we go. Flutter. Oh, it wants the Sdk path. Let's. I haven't set that yet, so I'm just going to quickly type that. Come on. There we go. And hit next. This is the first time I've actually have seen that for a good couple of years now. Okay, project name. So let's go back to our starter example. So enter startup namer instead of Flutter app for the project name. Okay, we can do that. Let's see if I can bring these a bit better on the screen. So let's call it what? Startup namer. Okay, we'll call it startup namer. That's a description. And you know, if you had a domain name, this is what you call a package path, but normally it's the domain name backwards, right? For each component. So you can see here, this would be example.com, but it's backwards. We're just going to leave it as that for now. But if you have your own domain name, highly recommend you use that because it makes it specific for you and for what you're doing. There won't be any collisions in the namespace. Right. So we're going to leave a Kotlin Swift. We're not going to use those. And we're going to tick web here to enable web support. And as you can see here, if we wanted Windows desktop or Linux desktop or one of these, it tells you the little instructions, Flutter config, enable Linux desktop. Now, the desktop is still in alpha. And I think the Mac desktop is in beta right now. Okay, so you can all get started on that if you want to. Right, here we go. Finish. Let's see what magic happens. Creating Flutter project. Fingers crossed.
Should we drum roll? Come on.
Come on. You want something to go quickly and it goes slow, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you guys remember when you installed Flutter? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, well, actually, in the company that I worked, we had a Flutter web production app in the production. Yeah, so I should say that although it's in beta, but many times, depends on your application, you may use it and you may not even see any problem. So go and test
I know
it.
a few companies, that's what their focus is really with Flutter Web. Also, it's come to my attention that the Flutteristas email is getting a lot of 30 days of Flutter questions. Please don't direct them to the Flutteristas. What you want to do is you mainly are going to want to put them on Twitter with the hashtag 30 days of Flutter.
Any one of the other community channels, right? I mean, that's what it's there.
And I mean, the Reddit, the Slack. This is why we went over all of that earlier. Go to flutter.dev/community, and there are plenty of places you can get help. That's why we went over all of this stuff and made it take so long before we could get to the install.
Okay, so it looks like we've got our project open. It's created the startup thing. I gave you I left the idea a little bit because the very first time you set up Flutter and the very first time you set up a project, you'll try and index the files and make things more efficient to use. So I'm going to close the README since we're not going to be following that. And over here on the left, I can expand the project and the lib folder and find my very first Dart file, main.dart. And here it's here. And I can see here it says the Dart Sdk is not done. So I just need to tell it where it is. Again, first time. So normally this is auto detected. I think it's because I haven't set up the Flutter root folder in my environment variables. But anyway, C drive, Flutter, bin, cache, Dart Sdk. Okay, that's the folder that you want. And there you go. It's detected the version correctly. And you can even have it check what branch you're on of the Dart Sdk as well. Anyway, so give it a second, then we should get enable Dart support. There we go. So it's picked up the Dart version, and it's going to start indexing. And now we get a tab down the bottom, Dart analysis, and that allows us a really good tip here that will tell you if you have any bugs in your code and what the bugs are before you even press play. So on the right-hand side, we have the Flutter outline, which is used for helping you do layouts. We have the performance monitor. So if you run your app in profile mode, you can verify the performance and eke out every little sort every little problem you can. And the main one that we're probably going to look at is Flutter Inspector, and that gives you the access to the layouts. So this is just
Simon, I think you pointed at good things right now here. And maybe some people ask right now, what is profile mode and what is debug mode? Can you just elaborate a little bit more?
Okay, so when you start your app up, I want to keep this simple, but when you start your app up, it builds it with debug capabilities. That means that the debugger can be attached. That's your IDE, can be attached to the program, and then you can put a breakpoint and stop your app, like pause it in time, and step through line by line of your code. And it's the best way to find bugs. As much as we have print statements, when you can pause your app at a point and see the variables, that is really the key to getting a good debug experience. And that's the debug version. Now, when you release your app to the public, to the app stores, or a website or such, you're not going to need those capabilities. And it's very specific because we don't want to load all this extra data. Your app doesn't have to load for supporting debugging. So what we call the symbols, which are all these little names in front of you. So in front of me, should I say here. So right now, let's choose a device at the top. And you can see here, well, Edge, we're not going to use Edge, but Chrome Web. Now, if you had an Android device plugged in, you can go look at the Android developer information. We actually have Flutter for Android developers, I think might list this. And that is, you can enable, developer settings on your phone, plug in your phone into your computer, and it'll pop up in this list right here if you have the Android SDK installed, and you can run apps on your mobile phone, which is very exciting. It's a little bit more complicated with Apple, but there are guides online. This is completely separate from Flutter. So, okay, so it's already got main.dart. So I don't know. Let's hit the debug. So the little bug here is debug play. Is just play normally. again, that's the difference between release and debug. And as Majid just said, there is a profile mode. And a profile mode is kind of a mix between the two. It's just down the center. It's enough to connect up to the computer, and it will record lots of statistics about how long each frame of graphics takes and how many widgets are being created. And this helps you work out where you might have slowdowns in your app. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. So let's run debug and see what happens.
Let's go. Wow. Exciting moment. Drum roll.
I've got something else exciting too. Nilay is going to step in for me for a moment, and you're going to like that a lot better because she's a lot cooler than I am. Don't worry, I'll be back. Or do worry, because I'll be back.
All right.
Hello,
Hello,
guys.
Nilay.
Hello. Hi. I wanted to check how it's going.
It's getting there. I mean, we're fine. I mean, this has been a long stream. We've done a lot of talking, but I think we're finally at that position where people are kind of going to see something happen, which is the main thing. And hopefully, given this time, we're going to get there.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Am I in the most exciting moment?
I think so.
Exactly.
Hey.
If we have any problems now, hopefully.
Okay, while you're fixing the problem, so like we still have a lot of people watching. Thanks for staying up this late or sticking with us this long. So, and if you think this is so overwhelming, so don't be scared. So everything Simon walked through today is in the also documentations we sent you. So if you feel like, oh, this is so many things, I am so overwhelmed right now, you can just go in and then read the docs later. But for today, it is really, we wanted to introduce the Flutter world and Flutter things and Flutter people, Flutter community, and it might be a bit a lot. So, but this is the greatness of the Flutter world. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of people, but just don't think that, oh, this is too much and you can continue tomorrow just reading the documentations. This is why we are sending you that weekly content.
Okay, looks like it's running.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh, this is our first Flutter amp.
Yeah, so
Very nice.
This is the very first template most people see, which is our the counter app. So it's really straightforward. So you see this debug banner. Don't worry, your app won't see that in production. That's just there to tell you you're in the slower version, shall we say, because it's got the debug stuff added to it. So if you press increment, yay, we see the number count up. It's amazing.
Yes.
So obviously not that amazing, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So.
All right, I think this is great. I can go. You can keep going if you like. And also, just like I wanted to remind Simon and Majid, also this might be too much for you, so don't get tired. We will have a lot of time, okay?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, thank you. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
See
Bye.
ya. All right, very nice, Simon. Very exciting.
So, I mean, you know, let's just go back to the code lab and tell people where they can go from here. So if we open up, let's get rid of the console. Here's the code lab, he says. Right.
Before you go there, do you want to show people, like, if you change something, how it works?
Yeah, hot reload, sure.
Yeah,
right.
So that's the most exciting part.
So we have lots of comments in here, and I'm gonna delete some of these comments just for brevity. Is the font size okay, or do I need to make the font size bigger?
Bigger, better.
Bigger, better. Can I quickly change it? And the answer is no. Hang on. I have an idea. Appearance, presentation mode. Let's see if.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And see if I can get it on the right-hand side. Hang on. Bear with me, guys, gals. There we go. And there we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what we're going to do is, I know this is really, really basic, but we're going to change the primary color from blue to red and hit save. And I literally just press save. And this is reloading. And cross our fingers. Be the time that I want it to work, and it's not going to work. Hang on. Do I look? Oh, no, there we go. There we
go. Oh. It's usually faster than this. I think probably it's the first time.
Everything else running, the screen capture, it's running a bit slow, I'm afraid. But
exactly.
Anyway, so you know, we could actually just let's go down to here to obviously all these comments are in here just for to show you around. So for example, let's go down to where we have that counter number. It's in a column, I believe. Let's just get rid of these comments. It's a bit much. Okay, so it's in a column, and then underneath that we could add a raised or nearly did it, elevated button.
Oh, whoa. You want the...
And then this is going to tell us right here that that we're missing some parameters, and on pressed is the function that's going to happen when you press it. And I'm just going to have it. Actually, you know what? Let's have it do. We'll change it in a second. And then the child, we're going to have as a text that says Majid.
Yay! Yeah.
You're permanently in history now in the recording. Good luck with that. Scaffold messenger dot of context, and this is show snack bar. This is a bit much, I know, but it will visibly.
If you don't know this stuff, don't worry. So you will learn.
And if you again, I'll show you this right now. If you're curious about any one of the little things from Flutter, you can get to it from the main Flutter website somewhere, I forget, but the website address is api.flutter.dev. And in here, you'll get all of the information about all the widgets inside. If I type in scaffold, oh, it'll be the one time that's making a fool of me. We'll just say scaffold for now. And here you'll see examples in the web page, sample code. It's a bit small on my screen, sorry. So in here, you'll see the sample code about various things with copying, and you even have it running in your browser. And hopefully, if I can get down to it, further down, past all this, you get all the little bits of information about how it works, where things are, and all the parameters, and absolutely everything. And if you see, this is the constructor. This is the thing that actually runs. We just read, which we're just working with, and that tells you the parameters.
Okay,
anyway,
very nice. Then
anyway, let's get rid of that. Let's go back to here and do something fun. Well, funish. And then we'll just
once you are doing that, I want to add Tomek back to screen.
Oh, sure.
Hello, Tomek.
Hey, guys. So I saw that there are plenty of questions in the chat, in the YouTube chat. So I will be monitoring those. And while Simon is not talking, we might answer the interesting ones.
So I hit save.
Sure.
As you can see, it says hot reloading.
Let's see that.
And hopefully, there we go. So now we have a button that says
there we go. Whoa.
And the question is, if I tap on it, what happens? Hello.
Whoa,
there you go. We get a little
whoa.
screen. It's amazing. And you can drag it down. And obviously, it's very much a mobile experience, but there's no reason you can't create web experiences. The widgets are very sort of varied, should we say.
Very nice.
Simon, can I ask you a question? Why are you doing it on web instead of like emulator on or desktop?
So well, there's two things. One, I think there might have been problems connecting to the Android virtual machine inside another virtual machine, which we're using for the stream here today. But also the installation of Android tooling requires Java, and that's going to take us more time, and just it's not worth it for this moment in time. But this is definitely something without any extra, like you don't have to have any of the iOS tooling, any of the Android tooling, or any of these other IDEs or things installed. You can just install it, hit play, and run it in your browser. And that's a really good thing just to get going. Mm-hmm. And as we sort of spoke about earlier, just to mention, there is Codepen, which is another way of doing things online. I feel like the development experience in a browser is not as nice as in the IDE, where you get all the information, links, and again, a good example here. If I command click, if it'll work. The one time I want it, it won't. There we go. It will take you into the source code even, and you can look around the source code and see how they're doing things and what the comments are and so on. So, I mean, like it gives you a better, I feel, development experience than just a browser. But if you're just getting started, you have CodePen and you have Dartpad, and both of these really will get you going. So I think, again, follow the code lab, and I'll just bring it back up on the screen for a second. If you follow the code lab and it tells you here, you copy and paste this. If I was literally to copy paste this here, like this and go into my project, paste it in place of everything I have in there, and hit save. And it's going to hot reload, and we're going to see a completely different screen, hopefully, from the code lab. And
yes.
The one time you wanted to go quick, it doesn't want to go quick. So there we go. Finally, welcome to Fly. There we go. So working through here, it tells you here you can format the document, but there's that example you just saw running on an iPhone and an Android device. And if you work through this, you don't have to spend all your time, an hour a day as we're suggesting, or whatever time that you can find. Follow these guides. We'll walk your way through it, and you will really make something happen. And it'll get you started in the world of Dart and Flutter for sure. Okay. I think that's enough of me talking.
Yes. Let's have Scott and Randall and everyone on the screen. So what a day, right? You agree?
Woohoo! Woohoo!
Yes.
I'm sure everybody's still got questions. Don't forget hashtag.
Yes.
That thing.
Use the hashtag. We will capture all of these questions, and we're gonna have several other, session in this month later. Next session is actually in 2 days or 3 days, right? So we will answer these questions. Yeah, Wednesday. So again, meet us live on one of these events. Ask your question. Everyone in the community is going to be happy to answer your question for sure. Do you agree with me?
We're already active. We're already very active in the Slack channel that you were given the link when you got your welcome email. But there's already 400 people there, and I'm answering a bunch of questions for everybody. So feel free to join that right after this show because I'll be there.
Yeah. In fact, I've been there answering questions already for quite a while.
Yes. Oh, Simon, you're muted.
Thank you very much. We actually had a question here. And hang on, there we go. Is there going to be a session tomorrow? That's a no.
What do you think?
Well, I'm kind of like ask the question.
We can't really do them every single day.
I'll be in all the normal places I'd be every day, but I don't think we have an authorized thing through this channel.
But yeah, I mean, and if you have a question, again, I mean, we've got Reddit, we've got the Google group, which we didn't even mention. The Google group itself is an awesome place to be. I've even seen Eric Seidel, the lead engineer on the Flutter team, answering questions in that Google group.
Right.
Okay, so the information you get there it's really good and from the source. But Reddit is awesome. Slack, and if you want to research stuff, Medium.
Yep.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Let's get through some questions because I'm sure everyone's got some questions. Here's one: can we make Windows desktop apps using Flutter?
Yes.
Yes. In short, yes. So you do need to have Visual Studio, and you use a Visual Studio Community Edition, which is free, not for commercial use. So you can't release your apps under that. You have to get a license, I believe. Caveat: go check it for yourself. But yes, you can make Windows desktop apps, and it is very much alpha. And I know that some members of the community and the Flutter team themselves are very hard at work to produce what's called UWP, which is Universal Windows Platform. And that's so that you can release your apps. And not only that, those apps that you build can then go to Xbox and some other things. So that's in the future. That's coming. But we never know. Go on, Tommy.
Simon, I want to add one thing because you were specifically talking about Windows. But of course, you can do native macOS and Linux application without problem. I have been doing those for 1.5 years, and I am pretty happy still. My all UI tests are running against Dockerized Linux. For those who are not who know what this means.
On all three of those platforms, keep in mind you can do both GUIs, things with the full screen, and command line stuff. So you can use this to replace all your other magic scripts that you write. You can put them all in Dart and just have a great time with
So we have another question here. Are we going to learn the Flutter from basics? And I think the idea of the content resources that we've supplied is to take you through step by step from the very, very beginning. I know we rushed some stuff today, but follow the content resources, follow the code labs, and you'll get started from the ground up, not knowing anything about programming at all even. Okay. So please try.
One other one I'm seeing quite often is whether or not there's going to be a certificate. This is not an actual course per se. It's a collection of code labs and tutorials. So no, there's not a certificate. Also, someone was asking about the Discord. You can find links to everything at flutter.dev/community. It's the official Flutter website. There's a link to their community page. You can find links to the Slack, the Discord, just about everything except for Flutter Community Medium. You know, you can find that through this little thing called Google. Maybe
only little, right? So I do want to cover this. Do we get any technical links altogether, or do we get started with Flutter? Any starter guides do we have who are refreshers and new to Flutter? There is actually some guides in there. So if you're not a beginner and you're coming from Android or React Native or one of the other platforms, in the content resources we've supplied, there are links in there for if you're already an Android developer, how to get started with Flutter. And if you're already an iOS developer, how to get started with Flutter. So they come from that angle. It's very good resources.
Very nice.
So so many minutes. Let's see if I can find some out here.
Well, there's someone asking if they can make an actual website.
You could. There's no reason why not. In fact, we did that with it's flutterhackathon.com if you want to go check out Flutter website that's running right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another one here. Which backend databases are we going to use for Flutter? Well, whatever database you want. There is no limit. So Flutter, one of the nice things about Flutter is it doesn't limit you, right? It actually, because it runs in its own environment, should we say, I won't go into the technical details, you have everything open to you. And if you go to pub.dev, that is the package manager. That's where you add extra code that you did not write to your project. You can go find MySQL. You could go find one of the very popular ones to use with Flutter right now is Cloud Firestore. So you can go add that to your project and follow the tutorials around Cloud Firestore. There's lots and lots of options and content available.
Even Dart.
That kind of opens the door to something that I like to stress at events. Sorry, but it's important to understand what Flutter is and what it is not. Okay, Flutter is a UI toolkit. What Flutter is not is an operating system. So it can interface with just about anything through plugins, but as far as databases go, things like that, pick whatever you want. As far as working with cloud, you can work with Azure, you can work with GCP, you can work with AWS. It's up to you. Flutter is a UI toolkit. Dart has a fantastic ability to do your back end in the same language that you're writing your front end in. And you have a lot of plugins to access things like Bluetooth, camera, storage. But all of those things are in the realm of the operating system, which leads us to another question that we get a lot. Is Flutter going to replace Android? Android's an operating system. Flutter's a UI toolkit. If you tried to replace Android with Flutter, what operating system are you going to be running? Because you're not going to have one anymore.
I've got a couple of interesting questions here, actually.
Yes.
Here's one that's kind of relevant. Hello, Pascal. Welcome.
Hello, Pascal.
So which 3D graphics can be used with Flutter? Does OpenGL work? So you can use OpenGL, but it's very limited. Obviously, the device that you're running your Flutter app has to support it. There are some packages out there, but nothing's really firmed up to being something that is completely multi-platform supported by everyone. However, Thomas Burkhart has been working towards a brilliant 3D package right now. It's in development, so hopefully we'll be seeing that soon. This is kind of a question we get quite often. Can I use any other languages than Dart with Flutter? Pascal, here you go. Here's one for you. Can we use any other languages?
Absolutely, as long as it compiles down to Dart. You can use any language. So you can write some code generators in Kotlin and compile it to Dart and then compile it to native. Sure. But I think the question is no. Dart is the question. Dart is the language for Flutter, and it is designed. It is language which is best designed for declarative development with Flutter. The Dart team or the Flutter team initially looked at various languages and then decided to go with Dart. But I have a background as Android developer, and
So you like
I love Kotlin, like many developers do, because Kotlin is a wonderful language. But we cannot have the good things of Kotlin in Dart. But I tried to do my best, and I ported a big chunk of the standard library from Kotlin over to Dart so that we can use all the cool extension functions. The project is called KT-Dart, of course. And yeah, it really got popular when extension functions hit the Dart land. And yeah, we could finally use all the cool extension functions which exist in the Kotlin ecosystem.
And can I add one more thing about that? So Android developers, do you know what is Instant Run? This feature that should work exactly like hot reset, but it never worked for me. And that's why Dart is really nice. Come again, Scott?
I would say it's much better than it used to be.
It's much better, but with Flutter, it works. And this is because how just-in-time compilation works with that. More advanced topic, but so not for everybody now.
Hey, Scott, here's one for you.
Where will we be after those 30 days? Well, if you haven't bought a new house, you're probably going to be in the same place you're at right now. But after 30 days, really the main goal is not to have built anything in particular. The main goal is to understand Flutter well enough to build anything you can think of. Okay, because Flutter, as they say, it's about never having to tell your designer no. If you can see it, you can build it. And if you can't actually build the thing that you're thinking of, you can usually build something that fakes it well enough that nobody can know the difference. And
can I add one thing here, if you're done, Scott? Okay, so I think after 30 days, well, it depends on how much effort you put into it, right? So if you work 30 minutes a day, well, you know, but if you work, I don't know, a couple of hours a day, you will get something very, you know, somewhere that you even don't imagine. So it really depends on you, how much you work. And you should have an expectation from yourself, probably. Also, of course, from the community and Flutter team. But then expect from yourself what you want to see at the end of the 30 days. And we are here to help.
I'm gonna quickly rush through a few questions here just so we can get them in before we have to end the stream. Yeah. Can I build a static website with Flutter? Well, Flutter Web does exactly that. It compiles to JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, and then you can just upload it to Firebase hosting for free, for example, or other hosting providers, and it works just as well. I'm sure GitHub Pages just works just as well. Do we support deep learning models, and can you use TensorFlow Lite? We're not going to work on it. We're not going to show you how to do that during the 30 days. However, there is a TensorFlow Lite package on pub.dev. And you can go find that and explore their samples and their examples and try getting up a TensorFlow Lite learning model, deep learning model on your own app on your own device. Perfectly possible.
We never told them what pub.dev is.
I mentioned it earlier, but pub.dev is the package manager. That's where you get external code that's code made by other people and bring it into your project so you can take advantage of that. So examples, Pascal just mentioned KT-Dart, his package that he made to give you Kotlin style lists and so on, immutable lists and so on in Dart.
So why is it called pub?
You're the GD.
Test your microphone.
You find it.
So why is that a rhetorical question? So why is it called pub.dev? Can you tell us?
Because you use darts in a pub.
Right? Yeah.
And
Okay, yeah.
pub is a great way to meet people and have a community.
I never even thought about it. To be honest.
Yeah, that was how it was explained to me the first time I heard it. So I.
Oh, right. There you go then. It must be true. If Randall says it's true.
Yeah, I've been around.
Or maybe they want to test it, your microphone. Pop, you know? Do you have a pop filter or not?
A pub filter.
So I've lost a question that was there just a minute ago, but someone said, does the performance of does an Android app and an iOS app work just the same when built with Flutter? Yes, in short. They're the same code running on both same platforms. Literally is the same machine code working on both. So they work and perform exactly the same. Slight caveats in terms of some performance aspects that the Flutter team are working on currently on the latest set of devices, but this will be the same with most situations like this. So there's no, it works just the same.
Yes, Flutter is compiling down to ARM code on the mobile platform, so it is actually as fast as anything you'll build, potentially as fast as anything you build with Kotlin or Java or any things. Yeah,
all these other languages.
Exactly.
Can we develop Flutter on low-end machines? Hashtag 30 days of Flutter. Thank you for using the hashtag.
Slowly,
yeah. I mean, there should be no reason why it doesn't work. But if you're running a virtual machine for like a virtual phone or anything like that, it's going to take more resources from your computer. So in a low-end machine, when you're developing a mobile app, I would recommend you plug in a separate mobile device and develop against that mobile device. So that should hopefully free up resources on your computer.
But it is still better to develop a Flutter app than a native Android app, because the compilation for Flutter app, you don't have to compile it. You can use hot reload. So it saves a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you try and build a Flutter app, I tried to do an Android app the other day. I was like, why am I waiting so long for Gradle? It takes forever.
And speaking of low end, just to toss something out there real quick, one of the reasons that Flutter is really catching on, especially in a lot of the third world, is that you can write apps for things all the way back to iOS 6 iPhone 6, iOS 8, and Android KitKat, which means you can write apps that will run on phones that are a lot older in places where people can't afford to change their phones all that often. And that is that can be a very underserved market.
All right, will Flutter always be open source? I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. And even, I mean, there is a question here, and it's always been asked to us. I mean, we've heard it for 2 years now. What happens if Google drops support for Flutter? I mean, any company could, right? But there's already big providers in the industry that are using Flutter. And so what happens on other open source projects is a foundation is made from lots of companies, and that foundation would take ownership over the open source project, and people from all of these companies would contribute as open source. So it will always remain open source, but who manages it might change in the future. But honestly, the growth of Flutter we've seen and everything else, it's a star project. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So this I've seen a few times now in the chat. Why do Flutter apps have a lot more size compared to native apps? In fact, they're smaller. What you're seeing is called a fat APK normally, which is one application that's shipped for lots of different devices, and it's made as one thing you put up to the Play Store. So it seems bigger on your computer when you're developing it. But when it goes, if you look at, once you've uploaded to the Play Store, if you look at the download size on the Play Store, you'll find it's very, very small and not as big as the one that you uploaded. Okay. So there are app bundles and various other things that kind of separate things off, but it's always bigger when you upload and smaller when you download. Okay, so you cannot think about your size of your app from what you see on your computer at the end of the day. Okay.
And Simon, can I add one thing to that? Because if you are shipping APK like with Flutter, you are shipping entire framework, not a small sliver of application like on Android or iOS. So the minimum size of Android application, I think, is 4 megabytes now, like the plain or hello world.
ASL.
I honestly, I couldn't tell you what the minimum is, but I can tell you what I have seen recently, and that is when you add the support library and you add Firebase and you add all these other things, suddenly you've added 20 megabytes to your app, right? Yeah. Whereas there's a nice advantage that we get with Flutter and Dart, and it's called a tree shaking compiler. I won't go into the details, but it basically means any code you don't use in Dart, you're not compiling the entire Flutter SDK into your app. It only compiles the bits you actually use. So this means that you only get the smallest possible output in your app. Okay, does that kind of hopefully that makes sense to people? I haven't gone too technical, but you only get what you use in your app and not all this other stuff, which you would do on some of the other platforms. Even though you can remove it on Android and so on, it's a lot more difficult to do it after the fact than the compiler does it before.
And just follow on slightly with what Tomek's saying. I know we're out of time, but you're not, with your Flutter app, you're not using the built-in vendor-provided UI. You're basically, all the UI is being done by Flutter, which also means you have control of everything all the way down to every single bit on the screen. You don't get that with this vendor UI, not even close. So that's why it has to ship. It has to kind of bring its own ladders along, so it can climb up to the display you want.
I mean,
I have one more quick question about this though. Why are people complaining about 3 or 4 meg sometimes when the average phone right now is running what, at least 128 gig?
Well, I will say that there are some old devices that are used in other countries, right? We talk about things as being like these big devices, but they're older, smaller devices. And the great thing about Flutter is it does ship a lot smaller. It does not use the resources that other native apps would use, so it does perform a lot better. We've seen on the lower end devices. Okay, so I think we've run out of time now. We actually are way over schedule, and I apologize for keeping everyone. So all of these questions, please, we want to hear about all your questions. So please leave them in the comments down below. And what's that line? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And
by the way, one quick thing, if you've made it all the way through to here, thank you so much.
Thank you
and
so much
there's
for
also
joining us.
one other thing you can really do to help us out. That is follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
Okay.
At
so Simon, I don't know what you just did that took away all of our names, but
having the banner up.
there are
follow us on Twitter. And also
Twitter followers could do so much for my resume.
Also, there is a point here. Use the hashtag 30 days of Flutter. People from around the entire community are going to help you answer your questions. And whatever questions we don't answer right now, we will get to your questions. We will try to get to most of your questions. There's been so many, it's overwhelming. But please ask your questions in the comments and down below with a hashtag. And in the next stream on Wednesday and following streams this month, we will get back to your questions and give you some very complete and concise answers. Okay.
Hump Day Q&A.
Yes, Hump Day Q&A. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll hear from you soon. Bye.
Bye. See ya.